8:05 at my time, so 5 past the hour, and we can get going. So again, welcome and thank you so much for joining us for OMP Fest, the inaugural OMP Fest, which has come about based on work that PKP has been doing and time we've been investing in OMP over the last at least 18 months or so. And we have a really great lineup of folks participating today, and so we'll get going. To start with, I'll just situate us a little bit in that work that PKP has been doing, and then we'll go into our panel, talking about institutional publishing models. We have some great speakers there. Following that, we'll take a brief break, and throughout, if you need to step away, take a moment, leave and come back, whatever feels comfortable, go with that. This is a very kind of casual collection of folks and of sessions. And as I mentioned just at the top, we will be recording the presentations so that they can be viewed afterwards as well. We're delighted to have you with us for as long as you can be around. So after the break, we'll go into our first round of sessions. We have a series of presentations from various OMP users. We'll take another brief break after that, and then we have some more sessions, including lightning talks. And then I'll wrap us up as we head towards the end of the session. And throughout, you can also use the chat. My colleague Famira is here to help out. Another colleague, Emma, will be joining us shortly. So drop questions in there, share links, whatever you like, and we'll make sure that we collect up anything that's shared in there to make sure it's available afterwards, and be looking for your questions as we discuss with our panelists and presenters as we go. So, as I said, we have a really lovely chance to reflect on about 18 months of work that has been happening at PKP since I joined around that time. And that time has involved some user research, which some of you here have been involved in, getting to know you all as a user community much better. We've had our community calls that we've been doing regularly, and it's been fantastic to see the enthusiasm from this community. I have a background in books and book publishing, and it's a really special piece of the open publishing ecosystem that is also often kind of starving for some attention. And so to have been able to do that has been really exciting. And also to get to know the people using OMP. We have such a breadth of types of organizations using OMP in their publishing. You see them listed here, from perhaps what you would expect: university presses, library publishing programs, other institutional programs, non-profit organizations, NGOs, academic societies, and then a lot of national and regional efforts as well, which we have good representation from in our array of sessions today. And also, really clearly, I've heard from you all that there's a desire to be sharing more stories, to be learning from each other, to be hearing what has worked, what hasn't, because a lot of people are early on in their journey of setting up an OMP-based publishing program. They've perhaps already been doing journal publishing and are seeking to expand, or there's some new need or new case that they want to support. And so that's really informed the way that we've approached this event today, to be able to share stories and learn from each other and ask all the questions that we always have, right? We might not have all the answers, but we have a chance here to bring everyone together to try and problem solve together. And it's really exciting too to see that there's still such a world of untapped potential with OMP. That 400 plus installs compared to the 50,000, 60,000 journals of OJS, we're a bit of a drop in the ocean, but there is much, much more that could be happening here. And all of the generous contributions many of you have made have really helped us to understand that, and we're now focused on figuring out our strategy to make sure that we can meet that potential and support the folks who are doing really exciting work and have more people able to do the kinds of things that OMP enables. So that's kind of been the journey to this point. And so to get started, we are going to begin with a panel on exploring those institutional publishing models. We have two fantastic speakers today. Unfortunately, our third had to drop out last minute, but I will be welcoming Jill Claasen from UCT Libraries, Antti-Jussi Nygård from the Federation of Finnish Learned Societies, and it was to be BLUPress from the National Research and Innovation Agency in Indonesia. We are hoping to find another way to showcase the work that they've been doing, as they've done a fantastic job with their program. And for those of you who know what's going on in Indonesia, it's a really exciting time, and the BLUPress have been helping others in the region to establish their programs. So again, hoping that we'll have a moment to engage with them a bit further as well. So we are going to get started with Jill giving a short presentation, and let me make sure I have all my bits and pieces and I have a proper introduction. So Jill Claasen has worked in academic libraries for over 20 years and has been a section manager of scholarly communication and research at the University of Capetown Libraries in South Africa for 11 years. She oversees the institutional repository, Open UCT, as well as two open access presses in the library. The one press provides the library publishing service, which includes publishing Diamond Open Access journals, monographs, and textbooks using PKP's OGS and OMP software. This library publishing service provides capacity building support to other African universities to publish their journals and books on the African Platform for Open Scholarship. The second press is the University's Press, which publishes monographs only, also on the African Platform for Open Scholarship. Jill is a committee member of the Library Publishing section of the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, which aims to strengthen library publishing activities for the advancement of local and regional open scholarship. Over to you, Jill. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Zoe. Thanks for the opportunity. I think in my sharing, I've tried hard to contextualize what we do at the University of Capetown. I think it's important, just as a golden thread, to have a publishing service that is localized, really. So taking into account every, all the parts, your context, because of course what's happening here in South Africa, in Africa, would be very different to Germany, in Europe. So that's going to go throughout. I just want to say that I'm going to mention context at least 5 times, but there's a reason for it. So I deliberately speak about an open access publishing service at an African university because our publishing program has different drivers to another publishing program in another part of the world. So I do need to talk about, again, so I'm contextualizing where we're at. So I work for the University of Capetown. It's also in South Africa, and it's also called Moscow on a Hill. It's a beautiful multi-located campus, but this one that you're looking at really overlooks it's at the bottom of Table Mountain. It is the oldest university in South Africa, and it is one of the leading research-intensive universities on the continent. And for those who may be interested in ranking, in 2026, the University of Cape Town was the first in the sub-Saharan Africa region of the QS World University ranking. And just to say what that ranking consisted of, it consists of 69 universities across sub-Saharan Africa, with 14 institutions from South Africa, and it's designed to provide a more contextualized view of the university's performance within the region. And I give a context to the University of Cape Town being one of the leading research-intensive universities. But within South Africa, of course, we are on the continent of Africa. And Africa consists of 19% of the total world population. And yet, in terms of scholarly output, depending on which source you look at, it's 1 to 3%. So pretty low. So the University of Cape Town, because of the number of research output, it really has a moral obligation to share. They are I would say a well-resourced university on the continent. So there's certain responsibilities they have, definitely in terms of sharing their research. The University of Cape Town has a progressive open access policy, and I've just taken a snippet of the beginning part, which is to take forward open scholarship and open education as part of the university's commitment to social justice through the widest distribution of its scholarly output. And again, the context of the University of Cape Town at the bottom of the continent of Africa, where research productivity rate is very low. I've chosen on the right to contextualize our scholarly program within the libraries. So I have again taken a snippet from the open access policy, and the open access policy states that if you look on the right of the screen, it speaks about the university offers via its libraries a library as publishing service to grow the number of local journals that are available open access. The libraries also provides a platform and support for the publication of open monographs and open textbooks. And this diamond open access journals and monograph option will complement current publishing processes to meet the need for more local and decolonialized content, and such content will be accessible globally. Again, it's the open access policy within a research-intensive university that provides the mandate for the program and inevitably provides the organogram or the structure of how it's run. So in the University of Cape Town libraries, scholarly communication is part of the organogram. So if you ask, is there a unit that focuses on library publishing or has a scholarly program? Yes, it's through that department. However, what is relatively unique about the University of Cape Town libraries is job descriptions, for example. It is not just, scholarly communication does not just reside within the one department, and the department there may be some colleagues in the room. It consists of 3 people and myself, and I have other duties as well besides scholarly communication. So really, it is in that department that there is a job description for library as publisher, as well as the university's press that had recently come into the library. And so, because the job descriptions in the library, they are generic, so to speak, in that they're not tailored to a specific faculty. Library as publisher or library publishing resides in all job description. And that is very, I think it's one of our successes in that when a manuscript comes into the library, it doesn't necessarily go to the scholarly communication department. The manuscript is seen as a project, and so different library staff work on a manuscript, and they take it depending if it's library as publisher. They then take it from the production side. And I'm hoping that through what you see in front of you, you may be able to note. You would see on the right corner there are two logos, and I'll talk a bit about that. So, library as publisher resides under one press, UCT Libraries Press, and then the university's press is under UCT Press. And so I'll try and articulate how they're different, because they are different. However, the results are the same. Of course, they are the monographs are available open access. And so I refer to the university's press, UCT Press. Whilst the library as publisher service began in, I'd say, 2015, 2016 already, because around about 2021, UCT Press was with a commercial company, and they were not making a profit, and they decided to give the imprint back to the university. So at that time, the university was looking to see where could the university's press be located, because of the successful library as publisher service, which at that time probably published about 20 or so monographs and textbooks. It then had been decided that the university's press would also come into the library. And so I just want to take a pause and try and explain the two presses, right? So they, in the chat, you'd have seen there are two URLs. So what would be the difference between the two? The one focuses on publishing conference proceedings and open textbooks, and some monographs. And then UCT Press focuses just on monographs. Both are open access, or really UCT Press is transitioning to be a completely open. When it comes to the use of Open Monograph Press, UCT Libraries Press uses OMP from the production stage and ensures that the academic or the author focuses entirely on their part. So language editing, they can do their own copy editing and typesetting if they can, as well as peer review. And then the library comes in and then uses OMP for the production stage. UCT Press, when it comes to the university's press, uses OMP from the beginning stage, from the submission of book proposals. Its governance structure, they have a UCT Press board, so it's overseen by academics as well as the library's executive director, and they make the call about whether a book proposal should develop into a manuscript. And then peer review takes place, of course, and then the book would be produced or published. Both the library's press as well as the university's press. In South Africa, if books are peer reviewed, they are blind peer reviewed, and they can be submitted to the university, to South Africa's higher education training department. Sorry, I slipped up there a bit. So it's DHE, the Department of Higher Education and Training. So a research subsidy can be awarded to an open access book that has been peer reviewed, and that means that the department then provides quite a healthy sum to the institution for the book that is published. So I want to say that it's both presses. The end result would be the same, where the books are published open, and if it's peer reviewed, it would be eligible for the research subsidy by the Department of Higher Education. And I think part of the success or one of the successes of the publishing program has definitely to do with institutional relationships as well as outside the university. At the University of Cape Town Libraries, our IT department is not within the libraries. We have a central IT department only. And of course, that means that they need to understand how to support open journal systems as well as Open Monograph Press. There is a strong drive at the university to publish open textbooks. The library sits on that committee, for example, that makes a decision which open textbook should be awarded annually. When it comes to learning how to use Dreamweaver not Dreamweaver, InDesign, for example, to allow for typesetting, there is a graphic design department where we have a relationship with, and they build capacity. And then within the institution's research office, there's an early career researcher program, and the libraries then provides has the platform to present on its publishing platform. On the right of your screen, you would see an outline of the African continent. We don't have a logo, but it is the African platform for open scholarship. I can't talk about UCT Libraries publishing program without talking about APAS. So really it is Open Monograph Press. I'll talk about, and it's OJS that have been scaled for the university. And a lot of it again is context. In Africa, there's an uneven and unequal connectivity. I had spoken about the low percentage of research output, and in terms of skill, there's an uneven amount of skill around. So what the University of Cape Town did in terms of ensuring that they go back to what they need in terms of their policies, so sharing resources as well as research. They have scaled OMP and OJS and make it available for any African university to use. And so knowing, again, the context of the continent, there has been success. I think there are about 13 universities that use open journal systems, and currently the University of Cape Town Libraries Press is using OMP as well as UCT Press, so the university's press. And then we have trained and we will be seeing publications soon from Chinhoyi University of Technology in Zimbabwe. So there will be another university or another country on APAS. And it's really because of this Pan-African open infrastructure that we have collaboration across the continent and beyond. So collaboration consists of the African Universities of South Africa. It's the umbrella body for all the universities on the continent. Of course, our collaboration has to be with PKP. There are many times when we're not quite sure what to do, and we reach out to them. And then because of there are books that are peer reviewed, we have on APAS we are a member of the BOP Trusted platform, so it provides greater visibility. And then in terms of capacity building, we members at UCT Libraries are part of Spark Africa. So again, I just want to bring it back to the social justice agenda that's in UCT's open access policy. And I have to talk about UCT's model obligation or responsibility, because it's a research-intensive university on the continent. It should share its resources. And so this is the page where you can see the African platform for open scholarship, and you can see I put UCT at the bottom, and it's really it's the scaling, it's the ensuring that based on its context, that other universities can also publish open. They can publish within their local context. So if we look at using OMP, both at UCT, of course, and beyond, I think most important for any program is to know its purpose. So what is your scholarly program purpose? And then the context that it finds itself in. So our purpose at UCT, of course, is within the university's research intensive, being able to produce research far more than other universities on the continent, as well as its open access policy, where the driver is a social justice driver. And really, it's within that context that we have a publishing program. And so when it comes to having a publishing program, I put this there so that you can see that it's a thought through process, and which has resulted in a success or sustainable publishing service. It's not just where libraries publishing is a fad or is part of the top trend, trends within academic libraries. At UCT libraries, it is having these principles, and I have them in bullets on the left. We have a passion to grow African scholarship, and we do that through diamond open access model. We believe in the open infrastructures, and that it should be driven by the academy. And we do that by implementing inclusive, diverse, and equitable access practices. And the right side of your screen there are lots of ways where we have ensured that we have incorporated our services so that Africa scholarship can actually grow. We've ensured that we allow for multilingual monographs and textbooks to be made available. We allow for the innovative side, which is to have audio and video clips. We ensure that, because of course smartphones is heavily used on the continent, we want to be able to make the scholarship available on a cell phone. So it has to be in different kinds of format. And so if I look at our lessons learned, so yes, our publishing program on the African continent has been just under 10 years or so. I think in terms of our lessons learned, it is people are key. So we focus a lot on staff development. We focus a lot on capacity building, and we do that where once a year we have what we call a winter series. It's during the vacation time in the middle of our year, where we capacitate staff to learn more and to be able to know how to use open journal systems and Open Monograph Press. Because really we want to ensure that we focus on the service of scholarly publishing, and we don't only focus on one or two people or just the 3 people within the scholarly communication department. For our
Jill,
succession.
thank you, Jill. Sorry to interrupt, but if I may kindly offer a time reminder, we have another panelist right after you. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, and then maybe just one more. Start even though you don't have all the building blocks. A proof of concept is more than good enough. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jill. And I'd love to come back to those lessons learned in the discussion as well. So if folks have questions for Jill, please start putting them into the chat. Would love to hear your thoughts and we can explore that with a bit more time. But next we will go to Antti-Jussi Nygård, who works at the Federation of Finnish Learned Societies, where he manages two national publishing platforms. Journal.fi, hosting more than 150 Finnish scholarly journals on OJS, and Edition.fi, which provides infrastructure for digital scholarly books using Open Monograph Press. Antti-Jussi's work focuses on supporting editors and learned societies, advancing open access publishing practices, and ensuring sustainable, community-driven infrastructure for Finnish scholarly communication. He has been involved with the Public Knowledge Project since 2015 and contributes to the development of OJS, OMP, and related software. He's also a member of the PKP Technical Committee. Over to you.
Yes, thank you. I was actually thinking that this is probably the first time that I talk only about OMP and book publishing, because usually I do presentations on journal.fi about journal publishing, about things that we've done with OJS, and OMP is always like a footnote that by the way, this also applies to OMP and book publishing that we've worked on. So it's really nice to have an opportunity to talk solely about Edition.fi a little. Second, yeah. So here are the topics that I'm going to talk about. So a little about my organization, about the Finnish scholarly publishing landscape as a background, then give you a rough overview of Edition.fi, about the criteria of acceptance. So how do you get to the platform basically, and what kind of policies we have in place on the platform. And then about the support and community collaboration that we have, and something about the platform customizations. I realized hearing in the last part of the presentation, there was the mention about lessons learned. I realized I didn't add that. So it's not to say that we haven't learned anything. Okay, so about my organization, the Federation of Finnish Learned Societies. It's quite an old organization, and like the name suggests, we are basically an organization that provides different kind of services and support for learned societies in Finland. We are a state-funded organization. I think there's over 300 member societies actually already. I'm not sure how old this figure is, but there's new applicants every year, basically. So I think we are over 300 right now. And we have such an official status in Finland that there's even a law of our that concerns our federation. And there are basically three basic tasks that are defined in the law. And the one that I've bolded there is basically the one that I'm personally working with in our organization. So advancing scholarly communication and learned publishing. And in one picture, I want to show you what's the landscape like, the publishing landscape in Finland. And like you can see, we have a really big number of learned societies doing the scientific publishing. While in many countries there might be big university publishers and so forth, that's not the situation in Finland. It's not saying that we don't have any university publishers, but we don't have that kind of a strong position with universities or university libraries acting as publishers. So traditionally it has been different kinds of learned societies that have done the publishing in Finland. So Edition.fi is basically the platform that we provide for Finnish book publishers. We launched that back in 2021, so a bit after COVID. Basically, I worked on it during COVID very much. And it's basically a platform that's aimed for publishers with limited resources. Most of our publishers are basically learned societies. Even the other publishers that we have that are not our member societies are small publishers, meaning that they basically, in most cases, only have 1 or 2 book series or similar, and basic publishing only a few books per year. At the moment, we have 26 publishers on the platform, about 1,000 books. Most of them are about law, because there's a law-related society that has imported a lot of their back content, so basically digitized books of there. And it's not only a platform for small publishers, it's also a platform for small languages. So much of the publishing is done in Finnish or in Swedish, some in English, but I don't actually have the exact figure, but the majority is in Finnish at the moment. We also use Open Monograph Press. We host our own server and basically maintain both the server and the installation of OMP. I'm dealing with the OMP installation. There's other people dealing with the server side of things. And at the moment, we are in version 3.4. And like it was mentioned, we have this sister platform, much larger sister platform that was launched a bit earlier, back in 2017, that is called Journal.fi. So about the criteria for acceptance in Edition.fi, basically the only thing that we demand is that the publisher has to be a Finnish publisher. So they have to be an organization that is registered in Finland. We provide free services for our member societies, and for other publishers, Finnish publishers, we do have a price, but it's quite nominal, so it's really affordable to join our platform. I've put our policy like this because we don't have like a good official open access policy, besides saying that any content that the publishers add to the platform has to be open access. But the thing is that we don't deal with any sorts of embargoes or anything similar. So it's up to the publisher when they want to add the book to the platform. So if they want to only add books that have been published 5 years ago, that's fine. But they can also act as a fully fledged open access publisher if they want to. Also, we don't have any strict requirements for policies, so we don't demand like specific Creative Commons licensing or anything like that. Our policy is to create opportunities, like to lower the bar for open access publishing, give technical solutions for that, and that's our role. And that's why our support is mainly technical. So we basically provide the platform, take care that it's safe, it's upgraded, give online support for questions about using the platform, and have these OMP workshops where we teach the editors to use the software. Also, we have like written guides and similar kinds of materials, but we don't provide any like editorial support. We don't provide support for layouts, proofreading, anything that sorts. It's all technical, basically. And another part of our work is what we started to do in the recent years, especially with the OJS publishers, because there's so many of them, but we've also included the OMP publishers, is sorts of community building. So we try to bring the editors together once a year in a special day where we talk about using the platforms from different viewpoints, try to make them meet each other and talk to each other, and try to have conversations around OJS and OMP related publishing. And then about the platform customizations, lastly, I'm not going to list like all the plugins and customizations we have. I'm just going to mention 2 that are the most important for us personally, because most of our publishers do not use OMP for the editorial workflow. most of the publishers actually use it just for publishing. It's actually different in OJS. In OJS, in Journal.fi, there's a majority of publishers that use the workflow, basically do the reviews, do the copy editing and so forth in the system. But in OMP, it's mostly publishing. So the most important plugins that we've built are the Crossref plugin for books. There's the screenshot is for the Crossref plugin. It does the same thing that the OJS plugin does, so registers DOIs for Crossref. And then there's the Quick Submit plugin, which is really, really important. So it works like in OJS, allows you to publish directly or add to the production stage directly new books without the need for clicking them through the whole workflow in OMP. So these are the most important things that we use, which we try to maintain. All of our plugins are available in GitHub in these two accounts. I try to move them all to this organizational account as soon as possible, but at the moment they are partly also in my repository. And then the other important customization is, of course, theme. As you know, like appearances are important. That's one of the most important things that the editors usually ask, that how can they change the appearance of their web page? And what we provide both in OJS and OMP is our own maintained basic theme that the publishers can modify by themselves. We've put a lot of effort to, especially to mobile layouts, like it was mentioned in the last presentation. A lot of people read these things with their mobile phones, to accessibility and to things that you can edit through the user interface. So you don't have to wait for a response from us, that the editors can do as much as possible from the user interface. We just upgraded our themes. Nate Wright, who some of you probably know, has been working for PKPP for he made us new themes, and we are now in the process of starting to use them. But we already use them in the front pages of both services. Only a few of our publishers have started to use the new theme, but we try to move that forward during the spring a bit. Yeah, so that's the customizations part. And like I said, I didn't have the challenges part here, so we can probably discuss that in the panel discussion. Thanks.
Fantastic, thanks, Antti-Jussi. And yeah, let's dive into the challenges and the lessons learned. And Jill, we can come back to some of yours there as well. I'm always really curious when you can look back on a journey, because often it seems like everything's been very deliberate to get to where you are. But decisions come up or kind of milestones come up that you're not anticipating. And so I'm curious to hear from both of you if there's a moment like that, a decision that you feel has really shaped your program in the end that perhaps you weren't anticipating at the outset. And so Jill, I might ask you to go ahead first. Oh, and please, for everybody else, please drop your questions into the chat and we'll get to those too. We'll just get the ball rolling here. Thanks, Jill.
So when we first started using OMP, we wanted each book to be on one instance. We did not want to use the catalog feature. So we didn't think that we would publish many, many books. So many conference proceedings and textbooks initially. But of course, after 4, 5, or 6, we realized that with the upgrades, it wasn't going to be possible. Some books had some kind of features and others didn't. So that was a big learning, in that we needed to retro back and ensure that we have one instance and use more of the features or the functionalities of OMP, and then take it from there. So yeah, that was a big lesson, as well as a kind of fork in the road.
Yeah, and sort of one of those cases of catastrophic success where you were publishing more than anticipated and have to problem solve from there. Great. Antti-Jussi?
Yeah, like a critical turning point for us was really the release of Journal.fi. back in 2017. It was really quickly after finishing with that service when we put that into production that it became clear that there's a big demand for a similar book-related service as well. That there had been work around the topic earlier about book publishing, about digital book publishing in our organization, but we then realized that we need a similar platform for books. And especially in the beginning, it was quite a rough process because we wanted a similar multi-context installation. So basically several publishers on the same site kind of a solution. And OMP wasn't really prepared for that. That it was actually not supporting it at all back in the day. And it was a lot of work in the beginning coordinating with VKB, which worked out really nicely. But the beginning was quite hard in that way.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sure there are others who can relate to books sort of emerging as a need when you're starting out with journals. I've heard that story from a lot of people, and a lot of OMP users have started with OJS a few years previously. Cool. So I'm curious about the flip side of that too. If you think back to those early days, is there something that perhaps you anticipated was going to be a real challenge that maybe was causing you or others involved to be hesitant about launching this kind of program that's turned out to not be as difficult as you anticipated? I saw some nodding there, Antti-Jussi, so I might ask you first.
Yeah, what I've always been surprised about is the popularity of these services. Like we haven't had probably a single advertisement towards the Learned Societies or other publishers. We're not with Journal.fi, not with Edition.fi. We started Journal.fi with 20 journals, and in 10 years we came to 160 journals. And Edition.fi, we started with 0 publishers, and now we are probably soon in 30 because there are some publishers that are at the moment hidden in the service and haven't released their pages yet. But I was like convinced that it is going to take more effort to get publishers interested about these services, and that hasn't been the case.
That's very cool. Jill, how about you?
I think from our side, it was the notion that all academics or all authors at the University of Cape Town, they understood all the different phases of publishing. I think many, when it came to peer review or language editing, they weren't sure about their role. So we were very clear when it came to library as publisher service that the libraries would provide the technical support, so to speak, and the academics do what they are good at. But I think it was the notion that we actually needed to learn about the cycle of scholarly publishing, which was great. It was a good learning curve because in the end we needed to provide support and some capacity to the academic staff. Yeah.
Zoe, if I may, and thank you, Jill. We've just got a couple minutes left before we need to get to our next one, but there is a question in the chat about Antti-Jussi, is your quick submit for OMP in GitHub or your own customization?
It's in GitHub, but it's my own customization. but to be honest, I don't remember by heart in which one of the accounts it was in. I think it's in my personal account, but I don't. It's either one of those. Yeah.
We can maybe share that link later. Make sure which one it is. Great. Okay. Last chance for questions in the chat. But I'm also kind of thinking again on this theme of trying to learn from your experiences as others are setting out. I'd love to hear if there is one activity or one kind of area that needs to be in place before you start this open book publishing program? Jill, maybe to you first.
I think it's just to have, to be honest, I think it is to have a learning mindset. And you know, we have a bit of a model of where we use a book as a project. So we have someone who's more experienced working with someone who has a little bit of experience and someone who's just going to observe. So there'd be three people working on a book, so they learn together. So it's really the ability to work in a team, but to learn constantly, and then want to share that. Yeah, for those who then know but more than to share it with others. So yeah, I would say that be humble and learn. It's extremely exciting to learn in this process.
I love that. Thank you. Antti-Jussi, any thoughts?
Yeah, like of course, like I said, our role is purely technical. So I'm not in a position to talk about book publishing service in the idea of providing the content for book publishing or anything. So purely from the technical perspective, I think it's really important that you make sure that you have the human resources for maintaining the service, the right kind of know-how around the systems that you are planning to use, or have the human resources available where you can dedicate time for getting to know the systems that you're going to use. Because these are really like these are systems that require a lot of time to learn because they are not widely used. This is a really small niche that we are dealing with here. So you benefit a lot if you have a dedicated person working with the systems and working with the service. I think we are in a better position compared to a lot of the university publishers in this regard, that in many cases they only have the IT department that is maintaining X amount of other systems at the same time, which is of course hard for them to do that. So I think that's been important in our case, and that's something that I think is important for anybody else planning to do like similar service that we are running. Of course, it depends on what kind of service you want. And of course, we have to have a clear idea of the needs of the publishers that you are planning to support. So in our case, it was clear from the beginning that it's mostly publishers who are going to publish old digitized books that they have. So there was not much demand for the editorial workflows. There was a lot of demand for how to get the books quickly on the platform and published. So I think those kind of things.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you to both our panelists. There are a couple more questions in the chat, and I invite you to jump in there. One asking about 3.5, and again following up on the on that plugin. But thank you both. Fantastic to hear from you. You've both done such amazing work and a real example to the rest of us of where this work can go. So with that, I will put us into a break. We will regroup at 3 past the hour for our next round of presentations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Zoe, hello. I'm just checking whether my microphone is working or not, but it
Yes.
seems to work. Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
I'm very glad. I was just going to say for our presenters, yeah, we can do mic checks, and Famira and I have got it set up so you should be able to screen share. And if ever it isn't available, I can very quickly give you permissions.
Okay. I don't see the button yet, but
Oh,
we
okay.
have half an hour. Yeah.
We do. Let me just check then. Perhaps Zoom was lying to us. One moment.
I have a share button. We're up next,
You do?
so
Okay,
yeah.
okay, great. Um, huh. Very strange. I'm not seeing the option for you, Elio.
I'm not an option. Oh yeah.
um, I'll make you a co-host and ask that you don't use your powers for evil. But I'll do
Okay.
that and
I
then
won't. Yeah.
thank you. Can you see the share button now?
Yes. Now I
Excellent.
see it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you.
See you in 2.5 minutes.
Wonderful. See you then. Katarina and Jesper, are you all set to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic.
Should we share a slide now? Or
We'll give it a couple of minutes just to people are
okay.
popping in and out. And I might just take a quick breather to see if anyone's messaged me. So, regroup very shortly. All right. Time to get back at it. So we have 3 presentations lined up for this block, and I am making sure I have my document in front of me, so I have all the right information. One moment. Right. So first up, we have Jesper Boserup Thestrup and Katarina Smitt Engberg from the Royal Danish Library. Now I will pass it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we're just sharing our slides.
I think you're ready.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So Jesper and I are going to talk about our experiences with establishing our new national OMP platform called Open Books, and how we've tried to balance different needs and try to come up with a setup or a model for publishing that's live up to high standards, but also work in practice. We have a lot of experience operating our national OJS server, Tidsskrift.dk, but we have realized in the process of establishing Open Books that there were a lot of things that we needed to consider and handle a bit differently. So that is what we're going to address today. So just very briefly about Open Books. The platform was launched in October last year, so it's still quite new. And we've chosen to do a quiet launch so that we would sort of slowly get some experience operating the platform, and we would be able to do some small adjustments. And then we're planning on doing some more celebrating and marketing after the summer holidays. But the basic aim has been to establish a national platform for academic books from Danish research institutions. And these do not only include universities, it could be all kinds of institutions that conduct research. And the ebooks could, of course, be traditional academic publications such as monographs or anthologies, but it could also be other types of publications that relate to research, such as reports or descriptions of collections. And the background for establishing the platform is, of course, that we have seen a need for open access publishing options for other formats than journal articles, and also a need for professional handling and more visibility for research outputs that might not be of interest for a commercial publisher, but still have a lot of value for the research community or to different types of professionals. And as I mentioned in the beginning, there have been some issues along the way that we have been giving a lot of thought and that we wanted to highlight in our presentation today. So firstly, we had to create a centralized service and design since it's a national platform that is hosted by the Royal Danish Library. But we also really wanted to take local needs from the different institutions into account. And secondly, we needed to build a responsible model for publishing, which turned out it was perhaps not as straightforward as it is with our OJS server, which we will get back to.
And then, well, we developed a platform. We actually had an earlier version with only Aarhus University on it, and then we created the new design and the new requirements, and then we used Aalborg University as our pilot to get a new institution on our platform. And that was a close dialogue with them. We wanted to hear what requirements do you have and how can we integrate that in our development process. And since we were trying to get other institutions in, we said we need some kind of advisory board so that they could look at what we were doing and give us some good ideas and say, this is a good idea, we need this. Can you look at that? It worked out quite well, actually, because we got some inputs that we did not expect. And then we had a design issue because we needed to have the central design. So we have the general layout guidelines from the Royal Danish Library, and then to merge that with local institutions and their demands. That turned out to be quite complicated for us, but I think we found a solution. And I'll actually show you the platform and try to explain some of the ideas we have, and actually some of them we might use at our OJS platform as well. But we'll go there, and I will start with an English version that will make it more helpful for you. The first thing you notice is that we made a line up here.
We're not able to see the website, Jesper.
I'll share that one, sorry. Here we are. First, you'll see that we had a line up here with information about the specific, about the platform as such, information for the institutions, some user guidelines, And we realized that that might actually be a good thing to use at our OGS platform as well, because it makes it quite difficult not to move around in the platform if you don't have this. And then we have this general presentation, and each institution will have its own universe down here. And here is the latest additions from each institution on the platform, so that the newest ones will be presented here. And down here we have a footer which is going to be basically the same for all the institutions, except these shortcuts out here that each institution can change. This part of the work will most probably change as we get along with more institutions, because I think they will have ideas about how to use this footer down here. But I'll just go and show Aalborg as a case. Again, here you have a local menu, tells you about the press, about submissions and things like that. And here you get a list of all the publications they have. And they made some categories that we're using. And here they're saying, well, is it a book? Is it a peer-reviewed? Is it not peer-reviewed? And over here you have the way of saying what kind of series is it? Where does it originate from the university? And these areas here we expect to have to be different at each institution. Then when you search down here, you can write in. I'll just UERA, and it'll just get your books here. And then when you search, it's not magic, but when you search in the specific institution here, and then on the front page you search in all the institutions. And you can see down here at the bottom that part of the shortcuts here are different from Aalborg University than for the platform as such. If we then go into each book, we will have basically you will have the front of it, information about the editors, some keywords, and of course a synopsis, and author biographies. And did they put in a full list of sources? You would have that as well. And what we actually was told to remember to have is this fold in, fold out thing, because else people start to scroll down a full list of references and things like that. So it is there to keep it simple for them. And if you look just under the presentation of the picture, we had the download function in there as well. That was actually something Aalborg University really would like to have. We never thought about that. Information about when it's published, copyright, and things like that, DOI. And down here you can see the different series and categories that the book is published in from each institution. So each institution will have different wordings here. Yeah, and then how to cite. And it's working out quite well. We hope to have more institutions on. And we have to discuss with them how much they can change at this page. But right now it's basically packed into the Royal Library's design guide. I just changed to the presentation again. Yep. You are muted.
Good point. So there are a lot of things that we needed to consider in order to put together a model of publishing, and these are the ones that we thought it could be relevant to talk about today. The third one, open access and copyright policies, was something that we had been thinking about from the beginning, because it was sort of part of our strategic aim that we wanted to make an open access platform. But the other two has been less clear from the beginning, and something that took some time for us to settle on. So with our OJS platform, the responsibility of each part involved is quite clear because we are making agreements directly with the editorial boards of the journals. But with Open Books, we host research institutions that are not necessarily used to consider themselves as a publisher, which means that we had to think more carefully about the tasks that the institutions need to take on. And we need to have a dialogue with each institutions about how they will do it, which will again depend on the type of publications they plan to publish. It could be a central unit at the institution or the institution's library that is in charge of publishing, but they could also have one or several editorial boards consisting of researchers doing this. And of course, one of the very important tasks of the editorial process is quality assurance. And even though it is the responsibility of the institution, we thought it was necessary for us to form a policy or some guidelines because it's important for us that the publications on Open Books meet the standards of the Danish Code of Conduct for Research Integrity. Which highlights the importance of academic criticism, including peer review, in order to ensure the quality and credibility of the research. However, while all publications at Open Books should be related to research, not all of them are research publications in a strict sense. So you might find other types of research outputs, such as reports, which are usually not peer-reviewed. So our policy is that all publications are expected to undergo appropriate quality control in accordance with established standards relevant to the specific type of publication and academic discipline. So again, this is something that we need to have a dialogue with the institution about. And of course, another important aspect of our publication model at Open Books is our policies on open access and copyright. And on this matter, as I said, we've been quite clear from the beginning that we wanted to establish a diamond open access platform in the sense that there should be immediate open access for publications. And the authors will not be charged anything. All publications must be published under a Creative Commons license. And this goes for all publications that are published for the first time at Open Books. Of course, if they have a back catalog, then these requirements will not go for them. Yeah, and then authors should retain copyright for their publications.
And the question is, what's going to happen next? Well, it is defined as a project until 2027 is gone. That's because we have to find out how to organize this, how many working hours will it do, and then we of course will change from a project to a daily operation. But it's nice to have a project status right now, actually. And this spring we'll add one more institution. We're going next month to have courses with them. And then we have a queue, and we'll start to add more institutions later in the autumn. But we need to ensure that we can handle all this with new institutions. It takes some time to get into dialogue with them. And we need to develop some information material when you onboard the institutions. We can do this. We have all this knowledge using the OJS, but here we really need to have more information material that is different, and to have that as a package that we can take out to each institution and say, look, how to do this. And it's really something we need to ensure that we have before we onboard other institutions. And then something we just realized, that we need to find a balance between diamond open access and then the publication models of the different institutions. When we said diamond open access, we were thinking it mostly as journals. diamond open access journals, but these, to publish a book is a different standard, and we need to ensure that our understanding of diamond open access books corresponds with the reality that we meet. So we have to look further into that. We have been in dialogue with different people, and we really want to hear more about that from people in our network. And then we have to start something quite different. We have to ensure that we share our metadata with the Danish library systems so that Danish readers can find it just not only on the net, but can go into different library search engines and find our material in there. It works, but it has proved a bit more difficult than we actually expected. And that's about it. So if you have any questions, we are ready to take them.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So please, everyone, feel free to put questions in the chat that I can read out, or you can also unmute and ask away. Go ahead, Antti-Jussi.
Yeah, just out of interest, how many publishers are you thinking that? Have you estimated any numbers? Like how many book publishers are there in Denmark, and what kind of publishers you are expecting to join your platform?
Well, we hope that we get. This sounds a bit. We expect to get most of the universities on there, but we have university colleges and you have the museums that might need to have somewhere to publish reports and things like that. So we expect to get more on, but I never think we have actually discussed some kind of upper limit. But it's not going to be so many institutions as you and I have journals on our on our OGS platforms. And then we try not to have commercial publishers on it, because if we do that, we'll start to have serious problems with Danish legislation. We have to keep it on the institutions. There has been some interest, but yeah.
What problems do you mean? Like some sort of like competition related problems? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then if we start to have commercial publishers on, we also have to start to ask them to pay for our working hours and things like that. And the model is really not based for that. On our OGS platform, we have some publish-in, but they're more like consultants. So if you own a journal and you need somebody to take care of setting up how an article looks, you can pay the publisher to do that, but you must own the journal, and OMP is a different thing to work with.
Great, thank you. And a question in the chat from Niels. How did Open Books start? Was it a request or a government program?
Well, the first version started for Aarhus University, and that was in a dialogue between the Royal Library Management and Aarhus University. And then when we started this, it was an internal idea that we thought that there might be a new area for us to provide service. And now it's part of the strategic work that we do as a Royal Library.
Excellent, thank you. Last call for questions before we head to the next presentation.
Just a second.
Oh. Hi, Miroslav. Is this, do you have a question, or do we want to move, are you getting ready for your presentation?
I thought I should share my presentation.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much to Jesper and Katarina. Fantastic to hear from you, and looking forward to seeing more as your program grows.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right. So next up, we have Miroslav Galić and Vladimir Stupar from the University of Banja Luka, and I'll hand it over to you both. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Good morning and good afternoon to us all, depending where we are. My name is Miroslav, this is Vladimir. We are from University of Banja Luka, and we are here to present to you our experiences with Open Monograph Press and with concrete BLUPress, our university's e-publishing platform. Now, this all started with me and Vladimir being a part of a publishing bureaucracy at our university, and simply we saw that our university has no platform, nothing to publish electronically, to get any sorts of e-books except for journals. But journals were managing themselves. It was not on university's level, except its parts of the university editors and staff were doing that by themselves. But university our university, as any university, is a big publisher. In any year, we have as many published materials as any other publisher, even commercial in our country. Of course, we in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we don't have a big, great publishing houses. So several hundred of classical printed materials were published, but nothing was seen online or anywhere else. So it was all going in vain. So we decided to create this platform, and we considered many platforms. And since we both are editors in our respective journals at our faculties, we have experience with OJS, we decided to take OMP as a platform. So we created something that's called BLUPress. That's Banja Luka University Press, and it's like nice brand. It sounds great. So in Bosnia and Herzegovina, for all my knowledge, there is no university publishing house. We have several universities, but none of them have systematic e-publishing solved. Whatever our researchers publish is either in printed form, which is low circulation, 100 to 200 copies, usually in libraries, in some depots, and it's not easily available to those who are interested in it. And of course, our university in that manner is not visible in academic sense. So that was the plan. Let's make it, and if we make it, they will come. So we are the first university to try to systematically solve our e-publishing presence at the web, at least in Bosnia and Herzegovina, not first university at all. So this is what we came with. Of course, we not interested too much in design, but functionality. And we chose OMP because it provides us with functionality. First of all, our university is also not interested in using it for editing, submitting, and everything else, just for publishing, because it's we don't have enough manpower to handle several hundred of publications each year. And since there is laws and statutes and everything that define what are quality standards for academic publications in Republika Srpska, which is part of Bosnia and Herzegovina, we don't have to do that because all faculties which are part of university are doing that by those laws and standards. So we get finished product and present it online. First thing we were considering, and I will show this to you. Do you see this? Is it visible? Yes. Okay. This is Banja Luka University Press and how it looks for now. For now, we have 67 publications. Since we are still in our infancy, we started last year also. And we considered how to use OMP. OMP is designed to be used as a single press or multi-press. Now, considering single press, it complicates because we need one person who will deal with all that inputs. Since university is it is centralized in one way, but it is also decentralized in other way. So faculties have a great autonomy, so faculties do have autonomy in publishing. So we decided to use BLUPress. I know it doesn't look like that, but this is a BLUPress installation of OMP 3.4 version, LTS. Vladimir developed a custom plugin because that landing page that shows just a list of classes was not satisfying our needs. We want for a visitor to see all the books first, so that that visitor knows where he is and what this is all about. So we had to customize that. As we can see, here is where we are making all our faculties visible. Each faculty has its own person who controls its own sub-press and has all the freedom to do or not to do whatever they like. And of course, each faculty has its own needs. It's not same at Faculty of Philosophy where I work, or at Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences where someone else is working. So everybody has opportunity to make its own. But on the other hand, to have one installation with sub-presses with similar or identical looks and feeling, so that it doesn't look like a mishmash or something. I will show you how it looks at Faculty of Philosophy. This is where I am chief. I lead this one. We have by far most, well, we are Faculty of Philosophy, 26 publications published. And this is what we want to see. Here we have category, okay, I will change this to English. We have categories, and these are what we need for now, such as scientific monograph, so that user can easily find it. Textbooks. This is what is also a main goal for us, to publish textbooks in open access for all students to have, and for students of each faculty to find very easily all the textbooks which are published on our university, so they don't have to look anywhere else or even pay. And handbooks are series, so we also use it to publish some specialized series. This one is about modern history, and of course to filter through our 4 departments: history, pedagogy, philosophy, and psychology, which reside at Faculty of Philosophy. Now let's get back. What we wanted to do was what OMP already provides. We will first start with the good things. Since there was no way to electronically publish a book and get that book recognized for your tenure as a sorry for my conditions for our tenures, we wanted to make this platform do that. That's the first thing. Second thing is to publish our backlogs. We have so many books which are available at PDF, but are not anywhere, are not present anywhere, except if that very researcher puts it in at some academic web, ResearchGate, or wherever. So it's just initially, so that's what OMP is doing for us. We have dates. This is new book, copyrights that are at author, licenses which author chooses himself. We offer all open access licenses for statistics. And of course, we do have certain books, since some authors do not want to publish it in open text like PDF. Some of the books are available only as a metadata. So that publication is at least present as a metadata. Let me just go back to presentation. Now, there were certain challenges we had, like well, after installation, we noticed that multiple script languages, such as Serbian, that we are speaking here, which use Cyrillic and Latin script, cannot be distinguished in a backend. They're just Serbian or Srpski. And whichever language in the backend you choose, it just shows Serbian, which one? It was confusing, even for us who are experienced at OJS. But it works in OJS. In OMP, it simply didn't work in a backend. Then, of course, and Antti-Jussi was talking about this automation or semi-automation of DOI depositing with Crossref. Our university recently became a member of Crossref, so it is important for us to send all that metadata to Crossref and to automate it as much as possible, because for the most part, I'm doing it by hand with web deposit form, copy pasting all this that was publishing, which slows down the process. And of course, it's a load that's on my shoulders beside all teaching and everything else that I do at university. I'm a philosopher. I'm not an IT guy. And then, and of course, there was exporting at least Crossref metadata XML that is valid for Crossref. There is no plugin for it, and some plugins that worked in earlier versions or didn't, I tried them and they simply Crossref rejected. So those were certain troubles that we were finding, but generally we are satisfied with OMP, and we are looking forward for community to develop or to take all these inputs of ours and to try to develop solutions for everything that we have seen here. Now, unless Vlado has something to say, he has nothing. That's all. Thank you very much for your time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So again, we have a few minutes for questions. Feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. And I will just say some good news on that Crossref front. We have work underway with them to improve that bridge between the two. So it's coming, at least, because it's something a lot of people run into. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Okay. Any questions? No? Okay, you must have covered everything. Fantastic to hear about your work and clearly leading the way, given what has or has not been available previously. So fantastic to see what you're doing there, and yeah, really excited to see it continuing to grow. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
All right. So next up, very promptly, we have Elio Pellin from the University Library of Bern, speaking about the Bern Open Publishing initiative there. Go ahead, Elio. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. I think as you see my presentation, and I'd like to give you a short impression of BOP. That's Bern Open Publishing. BOP is the publication platform of the University Library of Bern. With BOP, we aim to offer publication support that allows researchers to control the publication process themselves, while it also ensures high-quality publishing and effective dissemination with as little effort as possible on the researcher's part. In 2013, we started BOP Serials, an OJS platform for the journals. And in 2020, we set up our OMP platform for BOP Books. So what is BOP Books? I think for most of you, this will sound familiar. BOP, we are an institutional publishing service provider, an IPSP. We are not a publisher. And what we do is not a business. BOP provides infrastructure, tools, services, and support to the researchers of the University of Bern. Because due to legal restrictions, we can only support publications with a connection to the University of Bern. So BOP as a publishing service for editors is not open to everybody, unfortunately. But the publications on BOP, journals, book series, are open to all authors. So that means one member of, let's say, an editorial board has to have an affiliation with the University of Bern, but that's not a requirement for the authors. BOP is Diamond Open Access. That means the publications are scholar-led in the hands of the scientific community, of the researchers, and the hosting and our services are free of charge. How do we accept BOP for books for BOP? Researchers submit a proposal for a book or a book series. And then our scientific board, consisting of professors of different faculties and research centers, this scientific board decides whether a book meets scientific quality standards and should be included in the BOP Books program. One member of the board will take responsibility for the review process, not the administrative part, of course, of the process. That's our part, but the scientific. If this board member confirms that the standards of scientific quality are met, then the book will be published on BOP. That's the way for monographs and edited volumes. For book series, it's a bit different because for book series, the editors are responsible for the quality assurance process, but the scientific advisory board will monitor or watch the publications, and if they don't meet the quality standards anymore, a series can be terminated or removed from the platform. So that's the process of acceptance. And that's one of our books. It's an interview collection. The editors of this book talked with people who were involved in the development of artificial hip joints. So it's kind of an oral history of medicine. We encourage editors and authors to consider publishing in other formats than just PDFs. And that's what these editors did. We published PDF, HTML, and they choose to make use of our print-on-demand possibilities. And that's the workflow for these formats. The editors use SciFlow to convert their Word files, docx, into PDFs and HTML files. XML is also an option with SciFlow, but they didn't choose that option. And then we published on our OMP platform, and the PDFs were also the formats for the print-on-demand solution with EduBooks. That's a local publishing printing service provider. It delivers books within 2 days and takes care of the billing and the whole process. That's our standard process. It's well established and runs smoothly and reliably for edited volumes and monographs. For more unusual formats, the effort is a bit bigger and the challenges are a bit higher. This, for example, is a catalog of a collection of Mongolian manuscripts. We did produce PDFs of this catalog and another catalog of our incunabulas, but these are typical HTML publications, while with edited volumes, we register more PDF downloads than HTML downloads. With the catalogs, with these two catalogs, it's the other way around. There are much more HTML downloads. And of course, now I have an example here. That's a codicological description of a collection item. It's in Sanskrit, Tibetan, and Mongolian. And you can imagine that with your template and standard workflow for monographs and edited volumes, you can't produce these files that you need for your publications. So we tailored a process that our colleague Dennis Meyer developed for one of our journals. That's the workflow we used for our catalogs. It's also a single source process, a Word file converted via the Dennis Meyer tools. The newest version is called RCB, Rake Cascading Build System. And so we got our PDF, our XML, and an HTML of the catalog. The images are IIIF images, which are IIIF. That means the images are on an external server, and they work with standardized interfaces that allows you to embed heavy pictures without slowing down your website. If you go to this catalog of the Mongolian manuscripts, you will see that it's a bit slow in the upload. That's not the pictures, I'm afraid. That's OMP, because the book has several hundred chapters. That's a bit too much to digest for our OMP version. So we implemented IIIF pictures, and for that we developed together with the University Library of Basel IIIF viewer for OGS and OMP. You can use the viewer as well. It's available on the PKB plugin gallery on GitHub. Let's have a look at an example. This is a collection item with several pages. You see the pages in the bar below. You can choose one and look and have a look at the details. And you have a zoom function, for example, if you want to have a closer look on the red-orange figure on the right, you can zoom in and you see some nice little details. That's the advantage of the IIIF viewer. You can have high-resolution images that are quite fast in the download and if you open them. Another example, this is one of our oldest book series. It's a kind of diary in letters. And we started this series before we had the possibility of a IIIF server. We run the IIIF server within our library, and it's used mainly for digital editions and digital collection projects. But we also use it for our books, and we would have used it for this book series as well if we already had it. Because you see, there are the letters, handwritten, very hard to read, and we publish the transcription. And this would be a perfect opportunity to embed images via IIIF, but unfortunately, that was already some years ago that we published the first volumes of these 8 planned volumes of this diary. So, BOP is also part of national and international networks, together with the other IPSPs of the other Swiss universities. We are building up DOAC, that's Diamond Open Access Switzerland. it will be a single point of access for Diamond Open Access in Switzerland, mainly for journals, but with the intention to provide a greater support for OA books. DORC is also the National Capacity Center for Switzerland, and as is NCC, it's part of the European Diamond Capacity Hub, EDCH, which intends to also to put more effort in supporting open access, Diamond open access books. So this is my last slide, and if you have any questions, thank you for your attention.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So same again, questions in the chat, or feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to ask directly. Antti-Jussi, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. This was really interesting because this is the side of things that we don't really deal with, like actual book contents. Majority of our publishers use PDF simply because we don't provide services for creating HTML or XML, and it's up to the publishers if they have the know-how, and usually they don't have the know-how to do that. So I was interested about your SciFlow process. Can you describe it a little bit more? Firstly, is it like a paid service for you? What does it cost for the publishers themselves, and how have the results been? Like when you do automatic conversion, you usually end up with something that you still need to edit, or at least that's my experience. So what's your experiences with that?
Yes, thank you for this questions, Antti-Jussi. First of all, we use the licensed version of SciFlow. There is also a free version called, I don't know, I would have to look it up, but I think the University of Göttingen is using this version. But the licensed version has some OS APIs, yes, thanks a lot. Has some advantages for us. We can use templates that are not possible with OS APS. And the results are quite good. That means you cannot have too complicated typesetting, but you can make it look really nice, and it's a serious publication, and it's really easy to use. It's a text editor like you expect a text editor to be. You can import your docx files and then work in the editor. And then you can export the formats you'd like to publish, and you can even cooperate it with other. You can invite people to work with you in the editor, so you can have within a group of authors, they can work together on the fine tuning of the text. So for us, it works rather well.
Excellent. And there was a similar question from Niels in the chat. Let me know if that's kind of answered. You're asking what requirements lead to using SciFlow for editing. But I might go to Joao for the next comment. Thank you.
It was more like the question, what like, because there are other free tools or open source versions, what was the main drive to use SciFlow or license SciFlow?
We licensed SciFlow when the free version didn't exist already. And of course, we talked with them whether we use it mainly for the journals, but also for the books. And we didn't want to put all the weight on the journal's editor to change their processes, to build new templates. But of course, that's an option we have in mind, that we have in our view. Maybe that's a possibility within the network to provide OS APS for those who can't license SciFlow. That would be one of the possibilities we are thinking about. But we also have a campus license, so all our researchers can write their articles in the templates of the journals they want to submit to, and they can change the templates if a submission is rejected or whatever. So we have a campus license, so that goes with the campus license, the publishing license.
Great, thank you. Last word to Joao, and then we'll wrap up. Thanks. Oh,
I can't hear you.
You. Doesn't look like you're muted, but
Can you hear me?
No?
yes,
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, there was a button here that I need to press. I would like to do a comment because we're using OS APS, so the open source version of SciFlow, for 2 years now for the journal pipeline of the specialized information service that's basically residing at the University of Cologne in Germany. And we are publishing now 3 journals with them. My question would be regarding who does the typesetting of this? I mean, so we are using it. We are happy with it. We had to develop templates, and there was a phase where we needed to work with the editors a couple of weeks in order to reach a template, and we needed also to do some. Sometimes there are some things that need to be fixed, bug fixed, and that has to be done in the software. We try to provide some support, and I just wanted to say that there is a repo, a GitLab repo with issues, and there is a Slack channel where you can. And each month there's a community call to discuss the issues with OS APS. And my question was, who does the setting, and how big are the manuscripts that you use? Because we are using it for journals, but we haven't used it for monographies, but we kind of have already some questions so how is it like exporting times of the system for monographies, and how does it perform in terms of do you have to do a lot of work within the editor?
It depends on the quality of the Word file. If they are well structured, there is not so much work to do in the editor. Maybe you have something to work on tables. If they don't fit in the template, you have to work a bit on them. But it usually runs quite smoothly. We have a template for the book platform. We have a template for edited volumes and one for monographs. That's what we provide to all the editors and authors. But of course, for the journals, every editorial board decides themselves, and they can have a tailored template made by SciFlow. And of course, because we have a license, they have support for the editing process and the converting process by SciFlow. That's one of the advantages, of course. But for us, it runs quite well. Yeah.
Can I do one more question? Is there still some time?
If it's quick.
No, it was that you said that you had a scientific advisory board to accept manuscripts. How big is it, and how did you gather it so to say?
It's 7 professors, and we had people in mind. We asked around in the different faculties. We tried to be as broad as possible on the campus, and we meet twice a year. And if there's something urgent, we communicate via email and can make decisions on the email way. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
More or
Yes,
less?
definitely.
Welcome. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for those questions, and Elio, for your presentation. A really fascinating workflow that you have there with SciFlow and the AAAF. It's really great to see a different kind of content being presented in a really lovely way. All right. Thank you, everyone. So we are now going to have another short break, and then we'll come back with our round of lightning talks. So we will be back at 5 past the hour. See you shortly. All right, we are back at it. Uh, Thank you so much, folks, for sticking around. All good when you need to drop off. There's lots going on always. But we are now going to hop into our lightning talks. We have three from the team at Lepidus Technology. I knew I was going to get this wrong. I'm going to put the emphasis in the wrong place. Technologia. And all the folks presenting are here on the call as well. So we'll still have time following their presentations for any questions you might have. I will run through the three lightning talks back to back, but as I say, drop anything in the chat that you'd like, and then we can have a few minutes for any other questions. Okay, bear with me a second so I get my get the right screen up. Oh, it's done the thing where you share slides and then it disappears from your options. There we go. Okay. Right. So, first up, here we go.
Greetings, OMP community. My name is Pablo from Lepidus. Lepidus is a Brazilian company that works for the academic and scientific communities, providing services like ODS and OMP hosting, and also software development.
Actually, I'll just double check. Is the sound coming through okay? I might not have done that quite right. It is. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thought better to stop now than later on. On we go.
I'm going to present the Petrobras University Publications Portal, a project we developed for Petrobras, which is a Brazilian oil and gas and energy company. The Petrobras University Publications was conceived for knowledge sharing for various actors, including the market, academy, service providers, and also employees of the company. Its main goal is to integrate publications in a single platform. Currently, they have two journals, the Revista Técnica da Universidade de Petrobras, and also the Boletim Geociências da Petrobras, and the didactic book published program, which is called Pellin in Portuguese, for books and reports. Petrobras University Publications is an OMP site with a team we implemented based on the design provided by the company, which is based on their main website. So let's start with the top. We have here the language toggle buttons and also some accessibility controls, including the Brazilian Sign Language plugin. At the top menu, we have a book catalog, which is an OMP book catalog with the items published. We also have the links to the journals here and the announcement and about links. The most interesting thing of this website is the homepage. And here we have the new releases and the journals sliders. The first one is the books recently published by the Didactic Book Publish program. And if you click on the item, it goes to an item on the catalog of the OMP itself. And here we have the journal slider. The journal shows the recent issues of the two journals. And if you click here, you go to the issue itself, and it's on ODS. So here is the issue on ODS from one of the journals. You can see here that are two issues from different journals here on the journals slide. I think this integration is the most exciting feature of this project. It was accomplished by a plugin we developed that fetches the last published issues of the two journals using the ODS API. It's not currently on GitHub because it needs some generalization to be useful for other users. We were inspired by the Engberg University Publishing Program, which has done something similar, but using a different stack of technologies. Finally, I want to thank PKP for promoting the OMP Fest, giving the community the opportunity to share their projects. Long live open access, long live open science, and open books. Have a nice OMP Fest.
Awesome. Thank you, Pablo. All right, as I said, any comments, thoughts in the chat, and we're going to go to the next video now.
Hello everyone, I'm Ivi Cesar, developer at Slaps Tecnologia, and I'm going to talk about the Sentimento da Dialética project. The Sentimento da Dialética project is a space for engaging with the work of philosophers Otília and Paulo Arantes, reaffirm the collective meaning of their intellectual work. This material, edited and compiled into 3 digital books, videos, and other documents, is made available in open access through OMP. Using OMP facilitates not only publishing, but also editorial, organization, and digital preservation of the content. On the technical side, a minimalist theme was created with colors associated with the categories of the publications. This differentiation is not merely aesthetic, it helps quickly identify the thematic field of each publication. For example, politics appears in dark red, while philosophy is highlighted in purple. In addition, a quick submission plugin was created along with support for embedded YouTube videos, where the user can define the video link and it is automatically loaded in the gallery view. The project also had an impact on the OMP ecosystem itself. It was here that we tested the first versions of the EPUB viewer plugin, which was later made available in the official gallery. But about this plugin, the current version still has limitations due to its dependency on the legacy BB library, which may hinder or even prevent future plugin updates. You can access the project via the QR code at the end of this presentation and see the results of these implementations. I thank PKP for the opportunity to talk about this project. Thank you very much.
All right. Excellent. And on to our last one.
Hello everyone, and happy OMP Fest. My name is Jonathan Miranda, and I work as a web developer here at BLUPress Tecnologia. Here, I'll be presenting our work in the reference for chapters plugin. First, I'd like to discuss the history that led to the creation of this plugin. Open Monograph Press is designed with a focus on the monography as the primary unit of publication, where all metadata, including bibliographic references, is centralized. This model works very well for monographies with few authors and the general bibliography at the end of the work. However, the publishing reality involves a greater diversity of cases that publishers must handle, such as anthologies, chapters with different authors, and interdisciplinary works. Between these scenarios, it's important to consider that each chapter has its own methodology, its own authorship, and consequently, its own bibliographic reference. OMP allows chapters to have metadata such as title, authors, page, etc. However, there is no field to enter references at the chapter level. Consequently, the following problems arise. References remain only within the submitted file. They are not structured as metadata in the application, and they are not exported or indexed properly. To address this issue, we developed the reference for chapters plugin. With this plugin, you can add references using a specific field in the chapter form. plugin also displays this reference at the end of the chapter page when the default theme is being in use. For better understanding of this plugin, I'm going to show its features on this local installation of mine. First, I'm going to check if this plugin is already installed in site settings, begins. And we can see that it's already installed and enabled. So I'm going to access a monograph. And in the publication tab, I'm going to see its chapters. It has 3 chapters. And then I'm going to add this first. Here you can see the chapter reference field. It works just as the reference fields in OMP or EJS. So I'm going to add two references. The first and second separated into lines. And I'm going to save it. Then I'm going to publish it. And we can access its chapters. And we can see that the references are listed at the end of the chapter page. Important to know is these references are only going to be shown if the default theme is being used. If you're using a different theme, you need to adjust theme to exhibit this reference. Instructions on how to add your theme to display the reference at the chapter page can be found in the plugins readme in GitHub. The reference for chapters plugin represents an additional step in making chapters more complete in OMP. Although this is already a significant advancement, there is still work to be done. The next steps we are planning are adaptation to OMP 3.5, the integration with the cross-app export plugin, the semantic extraction of references starting in OMP 3.6, and the integration of this feature to the OMP core. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much to the team at Lepidus. So please, if you have questions or comments you'd like to share after that, very welcome. And we have a few links in the chat. I suspect that references for chapters might be an interesting one for folks to check out. You can take a look. So go ahead, Antti-Jussi.
Well, yeah, just want to give an overall comment about Lepidus, that they've been like a really great player in both OJS and OMP environments during the past few years. It's my go-to place when I start to work on a plugin, and I wonder if somebody else has already done something similar. It's one of the first places I visit because they have so many plugins that they have contributed for the community. So just wanted to say thanks for Lepidus for this.
Yeah, absolutely. I will echo that 100%. It's really impressive, the contributions that you've made, and it's so appreciated. It's quite exciting to be able to spotlight some for OMP specifically, but of course right across the ecosystem we recognize your contributions. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Okay. Then we will move on to our next presentation. So we have Umberto Vitali, Simona Bonariva, and Simona Albani from the University of Milan speaking about their open textbook program. And again, one moment as I get this lined up to share. An extra moment. It's okay, now I should be able to do it. 1 second. Okay, here we go. And once again, we have the team here from University of Milan. So please share any comments as we go.
prima che gli lavano il pennarello, il microfono e cazzo e mazzo quando mi sposto io. Vediamo dopo, ciao. E poi in realtà finisci il taglio del mezzo tempo.
With Milano University Press, and today, alongside my colleague Elena, I will be presenting our guidelines on open access digital textbooks. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending this session. The subject of this presentation concerns the publication of educational manuals within the book section of Milano University Press, the Diamond Open Access Publishing House of the University of Milan. Milano University Press spearheaded a survey of the state of the art within the 4U Plus Alliance to understand how to move forward practically before defining the guidelines of an open access textbook. What emerged from our research is that there is still a scarcity of significant established experiences when it comes to open access teaching texts. Milano University Press has thus issued its own evolving guidelines, aligning with UNESCO's principles on open access to educational publication. For public universities, this represents a core institutional mission. It serves as a bridge that connects research, teaching, and the dissemination of knowledge to civil society. The next slide outlines the key issues in developing open digital textbooks. It is a common misconception that simply uploading a PDF to a website creates an open digital textbook, but a genuine open digital textbook is a purposefully designated educational object that changes how students access, interact with, and learn from content. As illustrated here, the quality of these resources is built upon several key pillars. First, the pedagogical architecture, that is to say, clearly defined educational objectives and a logical structure explicitly tailored to the target audience. Alongside with this is the advantage of a digital medium, the integration of multimedia and interactivity, such as videos, simulations, and quizzes, which reinforce learning. Tech innovation doesn't mean much without inclusion. That's why accessibility is key. We need text-to-text, speech, adjustable fonts, alternative text for images, and software that work on any device. We are currently addressing these themes to refine and update the guidelines and our volume standards. Founded in December 2020, when a book section was added to a journal section existing since 2008, our university press operates on the Diamond Open Access model, free of charge for authors and readers. All publications are digital first and openly licensed. While free from users, the press is funded by the University of Milan, covering management costs and continuous staff training. In the spirit of open science, we ensure full transparency by reporting our activities both to the university governance and the public on platforms like Zenodo. Regarding authorship, the Diamond model does not provide commercial royalties. In line with the 2022 COARA agreement, we believe textbook production should be valued in career evaluations and supported through dedicated grants or gifts. Currently, however, the primary reward remains a widespread appreciation from students and the academic community, both within and beyond our institution. Having understood the Diamond publishing model, we will move on to a workflow. As you can observe from the diagram, the process unfolds across 5 stages. From the initial proposal review and board acceptance, submission and assignment, peer review, editing, and finally, licensing and layout. All of those activities are carried out outside OMP. Also, the peer review process is not managed with OMP, but the software is used as an archive to track the process. For textbooks, we typically implement a single-brand peer review process, which can be adapted based on the specific agreement with the author. Some authors have chosen to supplement the formal review from one or more colleagues, with feedback and suggestions provided by students. The tools we adopt must reflect our core values. Because of this, it is important to prioritize open source solutions that don't merely host files, but actively support peer review, open licensing, and academic identifiers like DOIs and ORCIDs, which ensure discoverability and reuse. OMP has proven to be a tool best suited to our requirements, ensuring continuity with the decision made in 2008 to adopt OJS for our journal sections. However, to remain objective, we are currently utilizing version 3.3 and its native functionalities for textbook. And interactive content remains somewhat basic and offers significant room for improvement. At present, we must integrate external platforms, particularly when incorporating exercises or multimedia components. Regarding research data integration, OMP currently lacks certain plugins, such as the Dataverse integration, that are already available in OJS. Furthermore, the PKPPN, that is Preservation Network, plugin is also absent, but we remain hopeful that it will be soon integrated into OMP. Unlike traditional market dynamics, a Diamond University Press does not invest resources in expensive paid advertising campaigns. Instead, it adopts dissemination strategies that are aligned with its institutional mission. This certainly improves promoting the work of events, newsletters, and social networks, but more importantly, it means working strategically on discoverability. It is therefore vital to optimize metadata which allow interoperability and systematically deposit the text in core archives such as the DOAD and TOT. To conclude, let us stress the importance of long-term preservation. Relying on established preservation networks is essential, and we remain hopeful that this functionality will soon be integrated into OMP.
This slide illustrates the typical virtuous ecosystem when textbooks become open access. We are not only discussing financial savings for those enrolled in university courses, but a systemic impact that engages and benefits different stakeholders. Firstly, universities actively guarantee the right to study by promoting and financing their own university presses. For authors and professors, open access means breaking free from commercial constraints. Their work achieves broad dissemination, and thanks to open licenses, external colleagues can adapt, modify, and reuse these contents for their own specific teaching needs. At the center of this process are the students, of course, who are provided with free texts tailored to their needs, available in multiple digital formats, and entirely free from the restrictions of proprietary apps. The removal of paywalls returns academic research and production to the citizens, transforming it into a tool for lifelong learning and cultural enrichment that can be freely enjoyed by everyone. Milano University Press is a relatively young publishing house. Our first volume was released in December 2020. Since then, our catalog has grown to include 170 titles. Textbooks currently account for approximately 8% of our output, with 14 volumes published to date. Here, we have listed 10 titles with the highest download figures. As illustrated in the chart, the most downloaded title overall is the textbook by Professor Puccetti, which will be described in the next slide as a case study. Other textbooks can be found in our top 10 rankings, such as Stai fermo un girone, Meccanica, and Appunti di termodinamica. We now present a concrete example of our most successful textbook, Matematica per il corso di Economia e Management by Professor Giovanni Puccetti. Looking at the numbers, it is clear that we have transitioned from an aggregate student cost of over 10,000 euros, typical of the traditional publishing model, to an expense of only 440 euros, generated by those who decided to purchase the print-on-demand copies. However, the most meaningful aspect is not strictly economic, but rather educational. In just 1 year, this digital text recorded over 6,200 downloads. This suggests that the readers are not only from the University of Milan. Even more significantly, the number of students successfully passing the course in the first 2 exam sessions literally doubled. This outcome was achieved by building an integrated digital ecosystem which goes beyond the basic features integrated in OMP. The book is a dynamic project, programmed in the open source language R with supplementary materials openly shared via GitHub. This architecture allows for the automatic generation of multiple formats, such as HTML and EPUB. Furthermore, the text relies on the university's Moodle e-learning platform to offer interactive, randomized self-assessment exercises, which even contribute to the final grade via bonus points. To conclude our overview, let us have a look at our catalog. This slide demonstrates that Milano University Press has already published open textbooks of a variety of disciplines, from medicine to the humanities, and from law to physics and foreign language teaching. However, what stands out observing the table is not only the diversity of the fields of study, but also the flexibility of the educational formats that have been developed. We find traditional course materials alongside innovative and unconventional resources. We have, for instance, fillable healthcare assessment forms tailored for professionals, bilingual volumes enriched with multimedia content, and even a gamification of Dante's Inferno, featuring a board game. We believe that when free authors, from the commercial constraints of traditional publishing, they manage to adapt to the needs of different readers, from university students to healthcare professionals and high school teachers. As you can gather from these 5 other case studies, we aren't simply digitizing old manuals into PDFs. The diversity of our approaches is broad. We range from the gamified ludic approach of Stai fermo un girone to Play Your Part by Margaret Rose, which utilizes theater to raise awareness about climate change. Be sure to consult Meccanica by Fanti, a classical manual that remains a favorite among students. Another essential reference is Diplomatics by Federico Gallo. Though traditional in both structure and subject, it is highly regarded by English-speaking specialists. Here, a look at the upcoming titles sorted by subject. They all are currently at various stages of development. 4 are about mathematics, 1 about chemistry, 1 about veterinary medicine, and the last one about medical science. The target audiences for all of them are university students and professors. In this slide, we present direct testimonials from our authors across different disciplines: mathematics, law, and clinical medicine. Thanks to open access, our professors can customize their textbooks and keep them updated, just like Professor Morriconi, for example, has done with his 2nd edition of the book. Even though we don't have enough time to read all of them, we would like to share the opinion expressed by Professor Puccetti. I believe it makes more sense for university to incentivize the in-house production of educational materials through their own university presses.
At the end of this presentation, we would like to leave you with the contact details for Milano University Press. If you simply want to keep the conversation going and stay up to date on our latest news, we invite you to visit our website and follow our active social media channels, and for further information, write to our email address redazione.mianop@unimi.it. Thank you so much for your time and for your participation today.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much to the team. And Elena, I apologize. I was looking at the wrong list of presenters and I left you off at the start. My apologies. Okay, fantastic. Please, folks have thoughts, questions, over to you. I will quickly echo Famira's comment in the chat there. The benefit to students that you highlighted is incredible. The increase in exam success just blew me away. That's the impact of these projects. It's really phenomenal to see. Other questions? We have the team here so they can answer any that you have. Antti-Jussi, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I actually thought that this is mentioned in the next presentation. I was just interested about the integration that was mentioned with TOT, and I think you mentioned also integration of DOAP. Are you using the actually Lepidus developed plugin for TOT for that, or are you using something else for sending your data to TOT and DOAP?
Well, I'm Umberto. I apologize for not being able to turn on my camera. Yes, we are currently using TOT. We are witnessing its benefits. We are very, how can I say, proud of using it because it enables us to. Sorry, someone spoke.
Satisfied to using it.
I couldn't really hear.
Okay.
If you are satisfied in use TOT.
Sorry, I can really hear you. Maybe Simona wants to say something more about that. I don't know.
No, sorry, go on, Umberto. Sorry.
I was just saying that we are proud to use TOT because it enables us to support our activity with online publication, and we hope to expand its use in the future.
But do you send your data manually? So do you like enter your data there manually, or do you use the OMP plugin for sending your data? Because I'm interested about experiences with the TOT plugin if you are using it.
Yes, we are currently using it as a plugin in OMP.
Okay,
we are,
but not yet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are using.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Excellent. And that will feed very nicely into our next presentation about exactly this. But just first, I wanted to raise Elio's question in the chat that the interactive elements are outside of OMP, and Eleni said that's how it works. If there's anything else you'd like to add to that, please take a moment. Asking where the interactive elements are.
Yes, the interactive elements are outside OMP. We have a university platform for our students, and there is also the link to GitHub. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Yes, very
Okay.
clear. Thank you, Simona.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
This was the answer for the interactive elements, the chat.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Wonderful to hear from you all. Thank you to the team. And I will now, just with time, move us on to our final full presentation of the day, which has already been nicely teed up, speaking about the work that TOT Open Metadata and Lepidus have been doing on integrating TOT with OMP. So this presentation comes to us from Toby Steiner, Tiago Brazil, and Vikus van Zyl from the University of Johannesburg Press.
Hi, my name is Toby Steiner. I'm working with TOT Open Metadata, and today I wanted to provide a brief intro into what TOT is all about. So on this slide, you see a couple of the issues that we have been working to tackle with TOT. First and foremost, we wanted to address the need of small scholarly or library-based publishers who are struggling with metadata management and dissemination, and related issues such as hosting, archiving, and the obscureness really of dissemination channels. So with Toad, we have been working over the last couple of years to define open solutions for these kind of questions that many of the open access publishers out there are facing. Toad itself is a small non-profit. We are registered in the UK, and the Toad platform has been made with open access titles in mind, but also supports non-open access titles. We are fully committed to openness, so our software is fully open source. Code is available on GitHub together with extensive open documentation, and multiple open APIs are available to access the CC0 data that's available through the platform. And I want to stress we are very much into avoiding platform lock-in scenarios. So any publisher joining the Toad platform will be retaining full control of their data and workflows. So in a nutshell, Toad really is like a community-driven open system that's developed by open access publishers and for open access publishers. As you can see here, we are currently being used by more than 85 publishers internationally, with a variety of book and chapter records in the database. And we've recently announced the launch of our flagship Toad 1.0 platform and service package. At the core of our services is the provision of Toad Oasis, which is the fully free self-service platform that publishers can sign up to. With the platform, you can manage and export metadata in multiple formats such as Onyx, MARC, KVART, and Crossref XML. All of those are generated automatically through the platform and then made available through open APIs or via downloads through exports. And the beauty of that is that it can also be used in connection with other open systems such as the Open Monograph Press, which we have created a plugin for to link the data between Toad and OMP. I also just wanted to briefly flag additional services that are available. So once the data, once a publisher has data in the Toad platform, they can choose to subscribe to one of the additional services that we have available. Obelisk, for example, takes care of dissemination archiving and includes, for example, Crossref membership and automated DOI deposits. With Sphinx, we have a dedicated publisher usage metrics dashboard that provides views of the different platforms that we are disseminating data to. And with Pyramid, you have a website and catalog solution, an open source solution ready at your fingertips. All in all, we really want to enable publishers to adhere to good metadata practice. So the whole platform has been built around implementing up-to-date guidance around metadata, the provision of open persistent identifiers, for example, the usage of controlled vocabularies such as thema, and really building on open standards. Here you can see a quick snapshot of one of those high-quality metadata records. And this is just a view of one of the catalog solutions that we have implemented. And with the Open Monograph Press plugin, we really wanted to take the benefits of two open systems working in conjunction with each other and talking to each other. So we felt that Open Monograph Press users could benefit from integrating the advanced metadata capabilities that we have available through Toad. So we've established or we've developed an Open Monograph Press plugin for Toad together with Lepidus Technologia, and I will be handing over to my colleague Tiago now, who will be talking more about that development. Over to you, Tiago.
Hello everyone, I'm Thiago Matos, a developer at Lepidus Technologia, and I'm here to introduce you to the Touch plugin. This is our OMP plugin that allows the registration and synchronization of metadata directly from MP to Touch. Today the plugin can be found in its repository in Touch GitHub, and is comparable with multiple versions of OMP, such as 3.3, 3.4, and more recently OMP 3.5. Then, on the release page, download the latest version comparable with your OMP. In this demonstration, I'll be using the version for OMP 3.5. Install it as usual in OMP, and after activating the plugin, you need to configure it. In the setting form, enter the credential of the publisher registered with Touch. By default, the plugin sends the metadata to the official Touch API, but it's possible to define a custom URL for a Touch API. For this example, I used the API running in my localhost. And now it's possible to use the plugin features. Let's start by selecting a submission that is ready to publish. Navigation through the publication page and opening the publisher form, we will find some new fields from the plugin. Checking the registration option, select an imprint, and if it's a monographic submission, specify the type of work in Touch. When you click in Publishing, the metadata will be sent to Touch and you will receive a notification if everything is successful. You can view the submitted metadata by accessing the Touch dashboard. The plugin maps all metadata related to the OMP and Touch, including chapters, contributors, affiliation, and publications. Returning to OMP, it's also possible to update metadata in Touch by updating metadata in OMP. To do this, I'll publish the submission to enable editing and change the desired metadata. When you save the form, the change will automatically send to Touch. Whatever, not all metadata has an update trigger, but you can perform an update manually by clicking the metadata update button. Back to the registration, it's also possible to submit metadata for submissions that have already been published on the OMP. When accessing a published submission, a new registration button will appear. Click on it and select an imprint on the registration form. As before, the submission metadata will be registered in Touch. Finally, instead of registering the metadata for each submission one by one, the plugin has a page where it is possible to perform bulk registrations. This page has a panel with various filters, as well as a search field and the quick selection buttons. Select the item you want to register the metadata for, select an imprint in the side panel, and confirm the registration. At the end of the registration process, the item status in Touch will be displayed, along with any error message in case of failure. And these are the main features so far, but the plugin is still under continuous development, so please feel free to test it and share your feedback with us.
Hi, I'm Vikas van Sale. Thank you for the opportunity to share our experiences with the Toad OMP plugin. So just some background, UJ Press is an open access university press based at the University of Johannesburg in South Africa. We publish both gold and diamond open access books and journals. We currently have 232 books live and 26 journals on our OJS platform. We've used Open Monograph Press and the Open Journal systems from the beginning. We decided to use these two systems specifically because of the open source infrastructure and because we are for open access. It also offers us a complete workflow solution for the press. It connects with other scholarly platforms and applications, and it also reduces manual work and duplication. So it's a very a good fit for us. So regarding ONIX, from the beginning we decided to use the Open Monograph Press specifically because we can then create ONIX metadata, but we found that most of the vendors that we work with could not accept the metadata that the ONIX metadata that was created through OMP, because each one of them wanted a different flavor of ONIX. So we were stuck creating CSV sheets for all of these different vendors, about 20 of them, and each of them wanting their own CSV sheets. So it was very time consuming, and we also found that there's mistakes that happen in this process because it's a manual process. Fortunately, we've found Tote and the Tote plugin that plugs into the Open Monograph Press. It was a very easy process to install the Tote plugin, and it's also a very easy to use plugin. And through the Tote plugin, we could generate ONIX through the OMP, and then customize that ONIX for different platforms according to what they want. It's a very good fit because Tote works with open access publishers, and we have mainly open access publications. The plugin was definitely a lifesaver. It saved us so much time, so much effort, reduced duplication, reduced manual work, and automated a lot of our metadata registering with vendors. So it's a seamless process. As soon as we publish our publications on the OMP, the metadata goes through to Tote. We can see that the book appears on Tote, and then we just have to do a few tweaks to make sure that the pricing information is correct, add some subject category identifiers like the thema metadata to make sure that all of the platforms get the metadata that they want. And it's also very good for us to see, because there's triangles on the metadata to say where metadata is needed, where we have to add additional metadata. The benefits for us, it's a very easy to use plugin. It works automatically with our OMP. As mentioned, as soon as we publish a book, the metadata goes through to Tote. It's also a great way to work with our metadata in Open Monograph Press and in the Tote plugin to make sure that the metadata is complete, accurate, and that it reaches the widest possible audience. We're also going back to our backlist. All of the titles that have been imported into the Tote plugin, we check, is the metadata complete? Is it accurate? Does it flow through from the OMP correctly? And then if we need to make corrections in the OMP, we do that so that the metadata in Tote is also accurate. So an additional benefit to using the Tote plugin is that we are able to register our DOIs through Crossref automatically as soon as the metadata goes through to Tote. It's much easier than submitting it manually. We found that the manual Crossref submission was very difficult, specifically when we get to chapters and org IDs, RORs, adding references and things like that. We've also seen, since using the Tote platform, that our Crossref participation report has improved. We're very proud of that, to be able to add org IDs, affiliations, RORs, crossmark information, and chapters to our submissions, which really improves the quality of the ONIX and the quality of the metadata that we are supplying to vendors and other distributors. We've also, through the Tote plugin, been able to distribute our metadata of our publications to new vendors and distributors, which increases the accessibility, impact, and visibility of our publications. So we're very happy with that. Some of these include OCLC, the knowledge base, RNIB Bookshare, JISC NBK, the Internet Archive, and Zenodo. So all of these additional platforms just make UJ Press publications much more visible, much more accessible, and we know that the metadata that is distributed to these vendors are complete, accurate, and that it contains all the information that they would require. With the recent OMP update, the Tote plugin stopped working for a while, but they fortunately worked on bringing out an update to the plugin. The new update to the plugin is ready. Whilst the plugin was down, we could still load our titles manually onto the Tote platform, which was easy. And we could also then make sure that it goes through all of the distributors, including the Crossref DOI registering. The new plugin, as mentioned, has just been released, and it's hopefully working, and we'll be able to seamlessly again provide metadata to Tote and have our books distributed widely. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please you're welcome to mail me, Also have a look at our publications and our journals. We're very proud to have a very good list of publications. Thank you.
All right, thank you to our presenters there. So I believe we have a couple of the folks. I saw Tiago earlier and Amanda who works with Tote as well. So please, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat or put your hand up. I've got just a couple of minutes for that. And I should say I'm a huge fan of Tote through obviously this work that they're doing around OMP and the power of connecting these systems. And I also run my own press that benefits from their services as well. So a little shout out to them and the great work that they do. Okay, last call for questions. All right. So with that, we're now on to our final presentation of the day. We have a lightning talk from PKP's own Emma Uhl, who has an update about the OMP documentation. Over to you, Emma.
Yes, hello. Hopefully everything is working. I see, okay, there it is, perfect. I will keep this snappy. It's just a fun little update about our Learning OMP documentation. So just to introduce myself, my name is Emma Uhl. I've been working at PKP since 2020 full-time. I do a lot of things, but the big thing is documentation. That's what I'm here to talk to you about today. So the big news is that Learning OMP has gotten an update for 3.5. I highly recommend you check it out, the link here. I'm sure someone will share it in the chat. And if they don't get around to it, I will when I'm done. But this is a little bit of a different update. We've been updating Learning OMP with the new information about new features from versions as they come out, but the guide hasn't gotten much special treatment or in-depth looks compared to OJS, for example. But since we recently rehauled the Learning OJS guide for 3.5, we wanted to move some of the improvements over to the OMP manual as well. So of course, we've included the 3.5 information that you'll want to know once you upgrade, stuff about user invites, the editorial board history changes, Roar and Orchid now being core features instead of plugins, and features like highlights to feature your most important sort of announcements to people with a little image, as you can see in the screenshot. But maybe more excitingly is the improvements that we've made to certain sections of OMP, primarily ones that are related to roles. The original OMP documentation just sort of had role-based tasks in one big chapter, but we've separated them out a bit. The big one being the editorial workflow section. So this has everything that editors need to know to guide content from a submission stage to publishing and managing catalogs, and it's documented much more thoroughly. For example, we never really properly explained the difference between internal versus external review in the documentation, and we've done that now. Similarly, we've also separated the offer information about making a submission and tracking an OMP as an author. So this means authors won't have to dig through documentation that's not relevant to them, since it's quite a lengthy document overall. And you can share these instructions with authors more easily. You can link directly to this section and they can learn what they need to do. So we want to continue to give OMP additional treatment. If you are familiar with GitHub, at the bottom of every page of documentation, there's a button to make edits. If you find any typos, I'm almost certain you might find an accidental OJS instead of an OMP in there. So feel free to make the corrections if you see them. And at the bottom, there's also a link that will direct you to this documentation feedback link that you see on the screen here. If you have any suggestions about what our documentation is missing or how it could serve you, or even the community that you serve as a service provider, we'd love to hear it so we can make more improvements in the future. We're planning to update our overall documentation platform to basically reduce some of the problems that we're having with the workflow that impede our ability to make these types of updates, which would make even more future changes and updates go much smoother for us. So that's all I wanted to share for you, just a little update that the long existing OMP documentation has gotten a little bit of extra love in the past few months. So I hope that it can serve you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emma, and right on time for a very brief thank you to every single one of our presenters for being part of our event today. It's just wonderful to hear from you all. I'm continually in awe of the work that you do. And, you know, I think there's been really clear messages here that there is demand for other kinds of publishing than journals. And as people are discovering it, we want OMP to be both the tools, but also the community where folks can find the support that they need going forward. And I come back to Jill's thoughts at the end of the panel about coming to this with a learning mindset and getting excited about the possibilities here. There's much more that we can do and discover, and I'm really grateful that we get to do a lot of that work together. So if you want to continue on, you can the conversation, you can always reach out via the PKP forum, and I'll also do a very quick shout out to our next PKP Sprint, which will be happening in Warsaw in May, and that is a satellite event to the Opera's conference. So a really great kind of humanities focus, which obviously leads itself to a nice books connection. So we hope to see some of you there, and I'll follow up with all the details on the recordings and things. And I thank you again for being here. It's been a real joy. Bye, everyone.